Hello and welcome to Tuesday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic on an absolutely bitterly cold day again here in the UK. It is not Harvest Moon, it's whatever the winter moon is, that is for sure. And to celebrate, we've got a festive, in fact I should put my Santa hat on today, shouldn't I? Because this is Frosty the Snowman by Riffclown, which is, well, it's been recommended to us loads of times. It's apparently an approachable puzzle. And it has an enormous rating on Logic Masters Germany. It's just called Frosty, and you can see here he is in the grid with his corncob nose and a big smile on his face, and hopefully that's what we'll have at the end of the solve as well. But I've got a few things to mention actually before we kick off today. Let me start with something quite amusing, at least I thought it was quite amusing. Hummer Kavula wrote to us, and Hummer has been experimenting with ChatGPT, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with, this incredible new sort of AI that exists that you can ask all sorts of questions to, and you get sort of sensible answers from the AI. And Hummer asked ChatGPT to write an expose on variant Sudoku. And this is what it came up with. So I'm going to read it to you. Right, here we go. Sudoku, the popular number puzzle game, has long been considered a wholesome and family-friendly activity. But beneath the surface of this seemingly innocent pastime lies a seedy underworld of variant Sudoku enthusiasts. These so-called variant Sudoku players are known for their love of puzzles that deviate from the traditional 9x9 grid format. They flock to online forums and underground tournaments to compete in challenges that range from miniature 4x4 grids to massive 16x16 grids and beyond. But the variant Sudoku community is not just about challenging puzzle solving. Many members engage in risky behaviour, such as using advanced solving techniques that border on cheating and even taking performance-enhancing drugs to boost their solving speed. I'm not in any of those. Furthermore, the competitive nature of the variant Sudoku scene has led to a culture of cutthroat tactics and sabotage. Players have been known to steal each other's puzzle sheets and even sabotage their competitors' pencils in order to gain an edge. The dark side of the variant Sudoku community extends beyond the game itself. Many players have been known to lead double lives, hiding their love of variant Sudoku from their friends and family out of shame or fear of rejection. In conclusion, while Sudoku may seem like a harmless and enjoyable activity, the world of variant Sudoku is fraught with danger and deception. Those who choose to enter this shadowy community should do so with their eyes open and their wits about them. I think that's pretty funny. Especially as it comes from a computer. And yeah, you can take your own view on how much of it is actually accurate. But anyway, thank you very much to Hummer for sending that in. It amused us. Next, what do I need to tell you about next? Well, let's do a few birthdays, actually. Aaron, from your fiancée Lindsay over there on Vancouver Island. I hope that you have a brilliant day today. I think I'm right in saying that Lindsay's been making you chocolate cake. If I'm right, well, lucky you. David, it's your birthday today, and I know this because your wife Diane wrote to us. And Diane, I was so sorry to hear about your struggles with COVID, and I hope you can both basically have an absolutely splendid celebration today. And Henk has turned 28 today, and your friend Kostek wrote to us to tell us this, Henk. So Henk, I hope you have a brilliant birthday as well. Other than that, over on Patreon, we've got the monthly reward, the snake with cryptic scriptures of the Secret Snake Society. I'm going to read you out some names of successful solvers of the whole thing. So very well done to Oliver Sprandio, Gary Azumanian, Thaddeus Wenger, Stefan Vona, Mark Richardson, Neural Nexus, Pete Hines, Alex Murphy, Branda Smith, Patrick Turner, Chris Daniels, Reptilian Wetman, Hanneke Husinkveld, I think, Tim Hodson, and Jacko Dreijer. All of you sent in the correct entries. Very well done. You've still got 1 week left if you want to enter the competition. And yes, I am still doing battle with the Fist of a Fell. I haven't had really much of a chance to look at it, but I did have a little bit of a breakthrough yesterday evening, so I might be able to do that final puzzle soon, and that would be quite exciting. Anyway, what else do I need to tell you about? Oh, well, yes, actually I'm going to start today not with Frosty the Snowman, but with Chaos Cave Sudoku by Magnus Josephson, which was yesterday's puzzle. Absolutely amazing puzzle. It took me 2 hours 15 minutes to solve it, but I was quite proud of the community, actually, because there was a spot about 45 minutes into the video where I made a small logical error, and I just wanted to address that today, and well, to apologise to Magnus first of all, but I was proud of the community because so many of you must have been concentrating to that point in the video and gone, no, he wasn't justified to do that. You're quite right, I wasn't. I didn't. What I did at this point was I had a total epiphany about the role of ones in this grid, and I worked out that ones, either a one in the centre of the grid either had to border the 7x7 that I was trying to build, or it had to be a shaded one. And I was in this position because I'd counted down from this 2 and said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and I'd extended my 7x7 down to this point, which wasn't justified. I shouldn't have done that because it's a 7x7 internal to the 9x9 grid. It was still at that point of being possible to have this grid as the 7x7 with this one hidden in the blue. Now I didn't notice that, but thankfully I don't think it would have taken me long to appreciate what or how to force this one to be outside of the blue anyway. Let me just try and do that for you now. Should have actually done some preparation of this fact. So I think what you have to do at this point, the logic regarding this one is totally correct. So that one has to be grayed, and that means it has to border the 7x7. So we would have been justified immediately in doing this. So we're already nearly there. Now this one has to be flanked on those 3 sides by greenliness, and in fact so does the 2 beneath it. Look, we've got to be able to put loads of greens in here to make sure that this 2 isn't too big and this 1 isn't too big. And that, yeah, okay, so now I can see how I can force this, because now this cell here now has to be a 3. It sees 3 greens. These 3 greens have to get out, so that's got to become a green. That cell there's got to be a 4, because it sees 4, and now this cell is the key, because that cell has to be at least a 5 now. And remember that this cell is bordering the actual Sudoku, we just don't know whether it's bordering the 7x7. But because we know that the 7x7 is at least up as high as this row, the Sudoku is either here or here at this point. That's the top row of the Sudoku. So this is definitely a Sudoku digit, if you like, and you can see by Sudoku it's got to be a 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9. Now this 2 is then very interesting, because that 2, remember, that's got to be green, because again it can't get to an orthogonal connection with the interior blue or to the edge of the grid. Now what would happen if this cell was green? Well, the 2 would see 3 cells, so that doesn't work, so we'd have to have done this, and now we're where we need to be, because this cell is at least a 5, which means it needs to see 5 greens, and it can only see 2 greens to its left, so it's going to have to see greenliness here. And if it sees these 2 cells, these cells cannot be within the blue, because that would basically render the puzzle as wrong, because remember the blue was treated as an edge for the purposes of the cave puzzle. So sorry if you were getting cross with me about that, you were quite right to. I didn't see it. That was how to fix it, because once this has to come this way, this of course cannot be blue, so that must be blue, and that forces this one to be exactly grey, and we can go on from there. So a lacuna, a mistake in the Antony logic, for which I apologise. I'm very sorry, but I wanted to correct that, and yes, to beg for your humble forgiveness, or to humbly beg for your forgiveness. Anyway, with that said and done, let's hopefully not make any errors with Frosty. by Riffclown, and we will see what Riffclown has in store for us. These are the rules of today's puzzle. Normal Sudoku rules apply. The grey cell must contain an even digit. Oh, I couldn't see the grey cell for a moment. It's there. Every string of 5 consecutive cells along the large purple loop. That's this one, I presume. Certainly seems to be a large purple loop. Must contain a set of 5 consecutive digits in any order without repeats. Every string. So those cells have to be, I was about to put 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, that won't work. 9, 8, 5, 6, 7. That would be a legitimate way of filling those cells. But then if we did that, we'd have to make sure those cells were also a consecutive sequence. And then having done that, you'd have to make those cells a consecutive sequence. So we have to make them a consecutive sequence without repeats, and they can be in any order. So that's how this big Frosty's, the outline of Frosty's face works. Now, other than that, we've got other purple lines, including the small loop in the bottom left. Okay, and presumably including Frosty's smile, nose, eyes, and is this a hat on top? It might be. It's really beautifully drawn, actually. Well, other purple lines must contain a set of consecutive digits in any order without repeats. Oh, I see. Right, so you might say there's not much difference between those two rules, and indeed I can see what you mean. But I think this middle ring is a bit weird, isn't it? Because every we've got that 5, and then we've got this 5, and then we've got this 5, and we have to keep iterating around the ring, making sure that everything is a consecutive sequence. I've done a puzzle like this before. I want to say it was by Analytical Ninja, and that is probably going to be completely wrong. I don't know. I think I have done a puzzle like this before. I'm getting deja vu. But anyway, do have a go at the puzzle. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. But now I get to play. Let's get cracking. And I think, there are some small things I can immediately see, like this Ren band down here has to have a 7 and a 6 on it. But I suspect we're not going to get very far unless we consider the ring of digits here and how they work. Now, I'm just going to go back to my example there. In fact, maybe I shouldn't use an extreme example. So I shouldn't probably use 9 on this string, because that's just going to... Let's use 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. So if we do this, what's this digit and what's this digit? They are the questions that I'm interested in. Yeah, okay. And I don't think it matters the order of these middle digits. This digit has a relationship to this digit, doesn't it? In the sense that it has to be, it can be itself, in fact, can't it? Because this is a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 string. What can this digit be? Well, you can see it picks up those 4 digits. So in order to make those 5 digits consecutive, you've either got to slot that same digit in, and that would be a 4, or you could go the other side of the sequence and put a 9 in here. Now, therefore, this digit here is always either the same as the digit 5 back on the loop, or it's 5 different from it, and it's exactly 5 different from it. So it's not quite like a German whisper line. It has to be exactly 5 different from it. And that relationship then keeps going, doesn't it? So if I highlight that cell for a moment, that cell has the relationship where it's either equal to blue or it's 5 different from blue. And if we go 5 more, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that cell must have that principle as well. That must be right. It must be either the same as this or 5 different from it. So I'm wondering now whether what I'm supposed to do is to sort of shade. So I could shade this, and then, is it this one? I think it's that one. So these 4 digits have a relationship, and obviously those digits there are going to have the same relationship. And then that one... hang on, actually, I've had another idea here. What about that one? That's a weird one. Let me just greenify that for a moment. This one... Well, this one, when we go 5 forward, so let's imagine that this was, I don't know, let's make that 3, and then make this 4, 6, 5, 7. Then you can see this cell is either going to be equal, using our principle that we established, this cell is either 3 or 8, and that works. It's either got to be at one side of this 4-cell sequence or the other. So it's either going to be 3 to make this 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or it's going to be 8 to make this 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's 3 or 8. But the thing that I think is interesting here, look, is that the next cell on that sequence is going to be underneath the 3, and therefore must be different from the 3. So this would, in this example, this would have to... Oh, it couldn't be an 8. Okay, well, that's quite interesting. So that's not a 3. I mean, that's a tiny deduction. But it is mildly interesting, isn't it? So that means that cell as well has that property. So these two... So across Frosty's face, you've got digits that are exactly 5 apart. Right, and the other thing I'm seeing there then is, let's imagine this was 3 and 8 just for a moment, forget about this 8. One of these two, then these two have to be a 3-8 pair as well. So you're going to have, like, you could have a 3 and a 3 there, or a 3 and a 3 there, or a 3 and a 3 there, and a 3 and a 3 there. But either way, you're never going to be able to put these digits in the central cross of the grid, so they're always going to get forced into the corners of box 5. Okay. I love puzzles like this because I mean I don't think I'm getting closer to getting digits, but I am learning about how the puzzle works, and I find this stuff really interesting. So hang on, I think I've just de-bluified something. Let's get rid of all this because this is all conjecture. I'm going to give those green ones, I think, like a shading, because they feel like they could be very important. Now, what is it that we're meant to do then? The only other thought I'm having straight away is about how many 5s I've got to put around Frosty's face, because there must be a load of them, mustn't there? And I say that because we're viewing each 5-cell sequence as one of these strings to which the rule applies. Now, if you pick 5 consecutive digits from the digits 1 to 9, it doesn't matter how you take the slice, 5 is always in the sequence. So in every single set of 5 digits around the clock face, around Frosty's face, we're going to have a 5. We can only put 1 5 in there and 1 5 in here. You can never put 5 on an even cell. Hang on. I have just appreciated something else. What's the counterpart digit to 5? You remember when we did, I put 3, I can't remember which one it was, I put 3 and 8 into, but I think I put 4 and 9 into that one. Now, that one then had the ability to be 4 or 9, because it could be 4 itself, it could repeat the 4, or it could be 5 away from 4. But what would have happened if that had been a 5? If that had been a 5, this digit would either be 5, but it can't be a digit 5 away from 5, because it's like with German whispers. It's an impossible situation. You'd be in 0 or 10 territory. So actually now, oh, see, so there are exactly 4 5s on the ring. And they're 5 apart each time. So they could be, well, actually this one can't be. Blue cannot be 5s because of this. And green can't be 5. Because then if we put 5 there, we'd have to put 5 there and 5 there. So green and blue are not 5. But we know, because we know there's a 5 in one of those 5 cells. So we could have that one, which would put the 5s between. Let's have a quick look at that. We could put the 5s between the blue and the green. Now, is there a problem with that for some reason or not? Well, that doesn't actually work. That doesn't work. And not because of anything to do with the face, but to do with the smile. The smile here is 5 cells, so that's got to have a 5 on it. Again, the consecutive slice. Where do I put the 5 on it if I have these 5s? That can't be a 5. This one can't be a 5. Those can't be a 5. And that's really lovely. Okay, I think I'm getting a bit carried away here, but I'm going to carry on doing this just because it amuses me. I'm sure there is going to be an easier way of starting this puzzle than this, but I'm going to carry on doing it this way in the hope of... Yes, I could do it again. Oh, now I think I've made a mistake. Okay, this is... If this can't be a 5, then everything I've done today is total bobbins. And that's going to be so disappointing. But look, again, if I put the 5s in these positions round the clock, you still can't put a 5 on the smile. So either this can be a 5, or I have just led you up a merry garden path. So it's the cell before the blue in each case would be a 5. Now, can you... No. Oh, no. Ah, that can be... Oh, that's so brilliant. Right. So I don't think anyone else will start the puzzle this way, but that's how I'm starting it, with 5 5s around Frosty, and this 5 on his smile. Because I know each string has to have a 5 in it. The only place 5 can go, I think, given 5s have to be 5 apart round the ring, and still leave room for a 5 on the smile, is there. I'm going to allege. Okay, so now let's do Sudoku. Let's do some Sudoku, see if we can put any 5s in the grid. Oh, hang on, this line is also a 5-cell line. So, that, I was trying to see whether I could lock a 1 off the line, but I can't. I could still have a 1 here, or lock a 2 off it. And I can't do that either. Right. So, what about that line, actually? That line can't have 5 on it. So if this line is digits between 1 and 5, it has to be a 2, 3, 4 triple. That would have to be a 2. This would have to be a 3, 4 pair. Which might matter. Oh, wait a minute, there's a problem here. Well, not a problem, there's a good problem. Look at this row. Right, here's a point. In fact, I'm going to start with this string because that's what I was thinking about there. What digits have to be in this 5-cell string along the Wren band? This is probably where you're meant to start the puzzle, actually, and I've got waylaid. But anyway, this 2 is doing work, isn't it? Because for this 5-cell string, I'm cutting the digits 3 to 9 only. Now, if we're cutting the digits 3 to 9 only, don't I have to have a 6 and a 7? Because I'm either going 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or I'm counting down from 9. And either way, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, I'm always picking up 6 and 7 on the line. And the thing that occurs to me about that is, if there is a 7 in this sequence, and there is, I'll sort of pencil mark it like that, I don't like doing that across a box, but just to show you what I mean. That sequence cannot have a 1 on it. Well, I mean, I suppose the even easier way to see that is to say, well, where would you put the 2 on the line if there's a 1 on it? You couldn't put it. If there's a 1 in any of these positions, that the sequence would have to have a 2, and it couldn't. So 1 in row 2, I think it goes here, and that means those cells are known because they have to be consecutive with 1. So they've got to be 2, 3, 4, and 5, and we know the 5 is there in one of these two. That's not a 2 by Sudoku. Okay. So now, what are we saying? What are we saying now? We're saying that... Well, one thing we're saying is that this line now is not 2, 3, 4, because it can't have a 2 on it anymore. There's definitely a 2 in those 3 cells, and there's a 2 here. So in fact, there's a 2 in one of those cells. There's no 2 on this line, so this line is 3 consecutive digits that are higher than 5. So it's either 6, 7, and 8, which would be... Oh, so has it got to have a 7 on it? Yes, it does. It's got to have a 7 on it, this line, because it's either 6, 7, 8, or 7, 8, 9, and the 7's always going to go there, therefore. Okay, so it's got a 7 on it. And it now, oh no, I see it now, it doesn't have a 6 on it because there's a 6 on the line. So this is 7, 8, 9, and now we know what this sequence is, so we can actually get rid of our pencil marks and fill it in. It is 3, 4, 6, and 7. 3, 4, 6, and 7. And I don't know what I might have to do. Do I propagate my greens now or something? Let me just think about that. I think, didn't I say at the start this couldn't be a 3? I think I proved this couldn't be a 3 because that would have to be 5 different from 3 and it would be therefore be 8, which it can't be. So I'm taking 3 out. So this is either a 9, which it's not. That's absolutely beautiful. I do not know if I'm doing this the right way, but I am finding some absolute magic in this puzzle. Look, if this is a 4, because this has to be 5 away from 4, it has to be 9. But that means in that 5-cell sequence, which contains a 9, there must be 9, 8, 7, 6, and 5, and there cannot be an 8 in it. So that is not 9, and that is not 4. So this is now 6 or 7, which means this is 1 or 2. And it means these digits, are also 1s, 2s, 6s and 7s, therefore. Neither of these digits can be a 1, so we can get rid of 1, forcing this digit to be a 2, because now we can't put 1 here, because there will be a 1 in one of those by the earlier logic. So this is now a 2, which means one of these is a 2, and 2 can't go with 6. 2 goes with 7, because it's got to be the digit that's 5 apart. So now we actually know exactly what the green cells are made up of, which means I can get rid of 7s from these cells. There has to be a 7 in one of those cells by Sudoku, and I would love to know which way round these go. Is there a way I can tell that? And there's probably a chorus of people shouting at me now. Oh, well, I've seen something else actually, which I could have done once I got this 5. That is a 4-cell sequence, which includes a high number, an 8, and it cannot include a 5, so that's got to be 6, 7, and 9 to make it consecutive. Which... I don't know if that's doing anything very profound. It might be. Okay. So where shall we look next? He says, desperately trying to... Come on, brain, work something out. Can we do... one of these is a 2, one of these is a 7. I'm sure there must be a very simple... There's probably a very simple trick we can do. I mean, the fact this has got 8 on it... Does that tell me something? Well, it does tell me a few things about this line, doesn't it? Because that 5-cell sequence there, because it can't have 1 on it either. So this 5-cell sequence is being selected from 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it must have 6 on it. We can say that with certainty, and the 6 therefore is in one of 2 places because it can't be here because of the 6, 7, 9. And it must have 4 and 3 on it as well. So we've got to put 3, 4 and 6 on this line. And then this is going to be the extreme digit. So that means those cells, because I've got to put 3, 4 and 6 on the line, have to be there. And then it's either going to be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or it's going to be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, depending on what this turns out to be. So that means if this is 3, 4, 6, that is not 6. And now the simple question is, where does 2 go in this column? There we go, we've done it. It can't go here. It can't go at the bottom, so it can only go in the middle point of the line, which makes that the 7. Wow. Wow. Okay, so now there's a 2 by Sudoku in one of those cells. That can't be a 6 because there's a 6 in this box. So this is down to 3 or 4. Oh, I know what we could do now. I could look at my blue digits. Right. How could that be 6? That digit would need to be 5 away from 6 or 6 itself, which it cannot be. So that digit is now a 3 or a 4, which means there's now a 6 in one of these 2 squares. This is magnificent, isn't it? It's so interesting. Now, oh, well, hang on a moment. Oh no, it can't be 8. Oh, wow. Wow. Right, I'm going to come to this cell. Remember, this cell was even, so let me just put in all, well, it can't be 2 or 8, in fact, we can see that. So it's got to be 4 or 6, but it also has to be 5 away or the same as that digit. So if that's 6, this clearly has no option at all. So this is 4, and that must be 4, and that must be 4, and that's got to be 4 or 9, and can't be 9, so that's 4. There we go, bang. Okay, so now those squares are now a 3, 6 pair out of absolutely nowhere. 4 is in one of these cells by Sudoku, 4 is in one of these cells by Sudoku. I see 4 just float around the grid in a sort of plethora of pencil marking. This is a 3, 6 pair, so there's no 3 in any of these cells, which means that's a 3 by the power of magic itself. That's a 3. Okay, so now I know in theory what these digits are. They are 1, 8 and 9 by Sudoku. I find it very hard to believe you could put an 8, 9 pair into these 2 cells. Is that really possible? I'm just thinking, if that's an 8, 9 pair, I've got to fill both of Frosty's eyes with an awful lot of high digits, and I'm fairly sure that's not going to work. I can't necessarily prove it, can I? If that was 8, 9. Well, if it's 8, 9, it's very hard to put 7 on this one. 7 would have to go here. And I could still put 7 on the other one. Okay, maybe. All right, I'm very sceptical that that can be an 8, 9 pair, but I can't immediately disprove it. So I've probably got to be a little bit cleverer about this, which I'm going to do by labelling 6 in this box. Where does it go? There's a 6 there, there's a 6 in one of those, so 6 goes here. Right, so that's not a 1. Right, so does that mean I think this is a 1? I think I do. I still can't prove it, because... or can I now? Yeah, I can prove it now. If that's... because if this is... Well, this is 8 or 9. It's a 4-cell rem band, so it must have a 7 on it. I don't know where the 7 goes, but it's got to be in one of those cells. Now, if this is 8 or 9, it must have a 7 on this one, and you can't put a 7 on it anymore because there's a 7 pencil mark there. So that has to be 1. This is an 8-9 pair. 6 goes in the corner up here by Sudoku. These two squares have got to be a 2-3 pair. Okay, that makes sense with this being a 1. I see. Right, that's a 7, I think, by Sudoku. This is an 8-9 pair at the top, which we can do the order of by our old friend Sudoku. It is outrageous, though, that Riffclown has already made me do a rather huge amount of Sudoku in the Sudoku puzzle. Now, those squares are now 1, 4, and 5 by, again, Sudoku. Can I do any better than that? I think we can get rid of the corner pencil mark, at least for the 4. 1, 4, 5, 2, 3, 6. So these are 7, 8, and 9, which looks like that's going to do some damage. Well, it gives... okay, it gives me a 1, 2 pair down here by Sudoku again. And I'm sorry, I'm just pausing. Right, and there must... Right, okay, hang on. There must be a 4 on this horseshoe. Where does that go? Well, it's got to go there. So that's got to be a 2 or a 3. So that's not a 4. That's not a 4. Oh, Bobbins doesn't quite do it. That's not a 4, though. This is a 2-3 pair. Those two digits are the same. Does there have to be... Yes, here's an interesting thought. I think that cell's got to be a 2-3. 2 or a 3, because this little line here, look, you can see it's definitely got 2 on it, so it must have 3 on it, and the 3 must be in one of those. Oh, in fact, look, now I've got an X-wing of 3s in those cells, so we can ask where the 3 goes in column 5, and the answer is we don't know, but it's got to be in one of those 3 cells, because it can't be in those 3 and it can't be in those 3. Let's just get rid of my... I don't want to keep the reddening, I think. Now, can that be 3? That would have to be 2. No. Okay, that can't be 3, because that has no option. 4 would be ruled out, and 2 would be ruled out. And because we've got to keep these as consecutive on the corncob nose, that's not going to work. So that's not 3. So 3 moves downwards. Oh, right, there's another X-wing I'm now noticing over here, look. This line has got 4, 5 and 7 on it, so it must have 6 in there. And there's another X-wing, this time on 6s. So the 6 in row 5 is in one of these cells. Let's guess, can I rule it out of this one? If that's a 6, that can't be 7, can it be 5? No. That's lovely. Right, so we get a similar effect here. We're almost sort of pinioning, or pinching the 3 and the 6 into a domino. We've got them into a triomino now. And so what's the other digit then? It's going to be an extreme digit, isn't it? So it's either a 3 or an 8 that needs to accompany the 6 into these cells. So these cells are from 3, 6 and 8. Sorry, let me just think about that for a moment. Do I know which of those it is? I probably do. My brain is not clever enough to tell me the answer. Oh dear, oh dear. Okay. Right. Oh dear. Am I getting stuck, is the question. And the answer may be yes. What's that digit? That's got to be quite a high. It can't be 5 even. Right. Right. Okay. This little eye is the one we need to focus on. Frosty's right eye. Although it looks on the left as we look at it. Because, look, you can't put 5 on this sequence and it has a 6 on it. So it must be 9, 8, 7 and 6. And that means that digit has got to be 7, 8 or 9. because it can't be 6, and unfortunately I don't immediately see whether I can do that. Oh no. Oh, bobbins. Okay, so what is it then that's going to get me no, it's not Sudoku even. 5s, 4s. The smile? Is this? Oh, the smile has a high digit on it. Can you put... Nah, oh goodness me. Right. What is the digit you can't put on the smile? What is the important digit you can't put on the smile? 4. You can't put 4 on it. I've got a 4 pencil mark here. In fact, that's coming from the blue 4. So 4 we could have immediately ruled out from this line, and that makes this line 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh my goodness me, that's huge. I could have got that earlier as well. That can't be 7. We know there's a 6 on this line, so that's a huge number. That's either 8 or 9. What about these? Well, actually, let me just label these cells. Oh, that's a terrible choice of colour. I'll make them grey for a moment. These grey cells here are a quadruple because they've got to be like a sequence along the grid. Now, in this quadruple, you can see the 6 is definitely in one of those 2 cells. And that actually is useful. Where does 6 go in box 9 now? There's a 6 pencil marked here. It can't go here now, so it has to go there. So that's a 6, which means that's a 6 and that's a 9. You can't put 9 on this line because it's got a 2 on it. Right, so 9 is in one of those 3 cells, and 9 is in one of these 2 cells. This is getting weird, but now I've got another X-wing, this time on 9s. So 9 in this column now is in one of those 2 cells. What are these 3 digits? They are 1, 8 and 9. 1, 8 and 9. Can I get those then? I now know, I've just learned that this isn't a 9, so this is 1 or 8. Wow, can I do that somehow? I don't know. Oh, I tell you something simpler I can do. Now this 6 is ruling 6 out of that 5-cell sequence. So that must be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which means this is a 1, 3 pair and there's a 1 here. Brilliant. 1, 3 go in the grid. 3, 6 go in the grid. Oh, okay. So 1 is in one of those. Can I put 1 here? That would make this a 2. No, that doesn't work. So now I've got a 1, 3 pair here, which means this cell is a 6 using our earlier logic. That cell becomes a 1, 3 pair. This is a 6, so that must see something. How many 6s have we got in the grid? Loads. Do I? Yes, I do. I know one of those 2 is a 6 because of the grey quadruple. So that's got to be the 6 along there now. Now, what does that do to the? I don't know. So 2 in this box. Yeah, I can place 2 in the middle box. So these are from 7, 8, and 9. Now, any pair of cells that contains consecutive digits must have an even digit. So you can now see there must be an 8 in one of those 2 cells. It's the only even option. So this cell is not an 8. And in fact, there's a 7, look, in one of those cells by this sort of horseshoe shape. So that's not a 7. So this is 8 or 9. That's not 7. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so it's simple enough. You can't put 7 on it, so it is an 8-9 pair, which makes this a 7. That's just lovely. The logic in this puzzle is lovely. Now I've got an 8-9 pair here, which means that's not an 8. Is that important? I've got a 3-6 pair now in this row, so that's become a 2 out of absolutely nowhere. That's a 3. That's a 2. 2 has to live right at the bottom of the grid by our old friend and foe Sudoku. These square... Oh, look. Hang on. There's something going on here. This cell's a naked single. From the row, it's got to be a 7 or a 9. And it doesn't seem to be able to be a 7. So that's 9, that's 7, that's 9, that's 8. So this is not 8. So this is a 3, 6 pair. Oh, that's gorgeous. That is gorgeous. Right. Okay. Ordinarily, we would get very worried about this. And in particular, this pattern does not look like one we'd like to see in a Sudoku. Because how would we know which way round these go? You know, you could, in theory, absent the Frosty's face, you could put 6s in those 2 squares and 3s in these 2 squares, or the other way round, and there would be nothing in the logic of the puzzle to tell you which was correct. You'd still always have a 3 and a 6 in this column. You'd always have a 3 and a 6 in this column. You'd always have a 3 and a 6 in this row, and you'd always have a 3 and a 6 in these boxes. But here, remember, yeah, we can't have 2 6s in that small sequence. There would be a repeat. So we could do our, had we done our shading of the 5 consecutive cells, we would know those 2 digits have to either be the same or 5 apart, and that tells us that this is the 3, and that's the 6, and that's the 6, and that's the 3, and that's the 3, and that's the 1. This is just so clever. This really is clever. Okay, so now this cell is a 1 or a 5. My Sudoku. I'm trying not to sneeze. What else have we got going on here? Loads of stuff, I think. Loads of stuff. I can get rid of my 8 corner pencil mark here. There's going to be, like, whatever that cell is quite an interesting thing. Because where does that go on Frosty's grin? That cell there has to go exactly there, look. So those 2 digits are the same, which means that they then transpose to here, so that digit is the same as red. Oh, which means that is not red, which means that's red by colouring, which means one of these 2 has become red. Can I rule out? Oh, nearly. Okay, so those 2 digits are the same. I'm not sure we need to colour. I'm just enjoying sort of exploring the puzzle a bit. Let's carry on doing some Sudoku, if I must be forced. That's a 2 I've just found. So this is a 4, and that's a 5. Right, that's that doing some work. So that's a 4, and this is a 5, using our power of our pencil marking. So we've not placed 7, 8, and 9 in this box. That seems to have to be 8. And that means red has become 9. So 9, 9, 9, 9. That's got to be 8, therefore. These 2 squares become a 7, 8 pair. That's not 9 anymore. That's not 8 anymore. Whoopsie. Oh, in fact, that is 7. It sees both 9 and 8. So that needs to be 9 by the power of magic. That needs to be 8 to complete the column. And what can we do with that? That's a 2, that's a 1 using the power of this 2. That's putting... and that's 3 in the corner. That's 3 in the spotlight, losing its religion. Very musical episode today. Now what's going on? I've done the ring now, so it's really just... Oh, I see, and I've got a 7 on the smile. So that gives me an 8 up here, a 7 here. That fixes my 1, my 8, my 1, my 5, my 1, my 5. Don't know what these cells are. These have got to be 4 and 8, apparently. So 8 will go here, 4 will go here. And I think that is how to solve Frosty the Snowman by Riffclown. Absolutely wonderful puzzle. So much interesting stuff going on. There may have been very much simpler ways to approach that, but exploring this funny ring was an awful lot of fun for me, at least. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments. Riffclown, take a bow, and we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.